What's going on, workforce? Brian and Chris here, kind of weighing in on this entire Billboard not safe for work ERP roleplay advertisement using Square Enix's official branding. Kind of this little thing that popped up yesterday. Hasn't gotten better. I've heard and essentially kind of avoided based off of what Chris was telling me on their own Discord. Lots to talk about. Kind of hopefully this could be the be all final end all summary of this essential drama. But for those who have not seen this yet, Chris, why don't you TLDR what happened? Why is the community like it's almost so funny that I really have been slightly entertained, but it's also so like, oh, this is not going to end well. Like I get these like really strong emotions of going like, all right, guys, let's buckle up. But before I let you do the TLDR, Pharma Girl is the sponsor of this video, gifting out subs over here on Twitch right now. Thank you, Pharma Girl, for making videos like this possible. We appreciate y'all's support, and all of the members and stuff actually are part of the YouTube filming. You can kind of see them down here walking around, so y'all can do some fun things in today's video. Chris, what's the TLDR? What do we need to know?
Sometimes somebody says something, and then that quote that they say just sticks in my head forever. This comedian that says some people suck, and like I say it all the time now. And Philip DeFranco regularly says, anytime in the past, if you ever watched any of his videos, says, "Don't be stupid." That's the TLDR. Like, don't be stupid. Like, this whole thing was avoidable. So I don't know where all the billboards go, but it looks like there's one down in the Houston area. So here in the great Texas with us. And you know what Texas needed right now was some more news cycle, because we've just done nothing but non-confrontational things lately. We all agree with each other and everybody agrees with us. There's nothing bad about Texas in the news. Please don't check that. Stay here on the video. Don't go out to do Google in another tab.
Google us.
Don't Google us.
John Mulaney has a great bit on like is like, yeah, I'm Catholic. Don't Google it.
Don't Google it. Don't Google it. Don't Google it. So here in Texas, some Final Fantasy players got together and decided they want to run an event in their house. I've heard some people say it's ERP. I don't know. And they wanted to advertise their Discord and a couple of Twitch channels. And I was told not to go to their Discord because if you say something that they don't like, they'll ban you. So that would just save you the trip. And that I guess some of their mods have been like spamming you with emotes that, because of the way the emotes are phrased, your antivirus assumes it's a problem. It's not, but it tricks it. And so like the whole thing just sounds like a just don't go near this. And like, but it's causing that term, that rubbernecking where people can't, like they have to look, and that onlookers delay. It's like there's a train wreck over here. Let only emergency responders come over. And you're like, but I kind of want to see it. And so like there's people can't look away, which maybe was the goal. Maybe it's just attention. And they were hosting an event for July 9th, which is right around the corner, in game. And so they decided they would just take out a billboard. Now there were some people over in the Reddit thread saying like, oh my God, they spent like $10,000 on this. I will tell you, Brian, your wife took out a billboard for your birthday one time.
Yeah.
Because it turns out not that expensive.
Yeah, if they were going to run it multiple days, if they were going to run that, because again, let's say I've seen anywhere from 3 to 6 billboards that apparently that have been posted across the United States. So assuming that it's like, you would assume maybe $200 a day. Like if they ended up running it multiple days, like, yeah, it's a couple $1,000, but it's not like $10,000 a day to advertise this event. It's still real money. And yeah.
And there was a comment left by somebody that works in the billboard industry that said, like, if they just wanted there to be 6 billboards anywhere, there are companies that will go out there and look for there's some of the travel sites have like, if you just want to stay in a 4-star hotel within like the metropolitan area and you're willing to go anywhere in the city, we will look for the 4-star hotels or above that just have empty rooms. And so if you're willing to drive to a different part of the city, like, I used to have to do those for work, and like they would set a cap on what I could spend on a hotel. And the nicest places I could stay would be like, I'll just stay anywhere that's 4-star. And I would stay in these super swanky rooms that just weren't being used. And so they were like, but it's only available for Thursday night. And then like, you know, it's all the way on the other side of town. But I would get these amazing rooms at these incredible rates. And so like if they were like, we just want one in a Texas city, and they're like, is a suburb of Houston okay?
All right.
That's fine.
Yeah.
You know, and so like they also could have been getting really bargain rates because that could have been an unused billboard. So they spent some amount of money getting this in the real world, and they decided to advertise their event, and they put like Final Fantasy characters, and it's backed up by like Costa del Sol, and so they just used like all this trademark material.
Also data mined assets as well.
Yes.
Which that like there's so many little things that I'm like, you know, you ever think of like dressing yourself up in a meat suit and walking around bear country? You know, it's like
bold strategy, Captain. Let's see how that works out.
So it's like, okay, well, like legitimately, you know, it's like, okay, well, everybody's aware of this now. And that means both the good side and the bad side of the 14 community, you know, who is known to self-police, like, you know, in both positive and negative aspects of a community when that happens. And so that essentially also kind of kicks things in high gear. But continue, my good man.
Then they were proud of what they'd done, so they tweeted it out. So now it's no longer random geographic areas over the United States or wherever. It's the internet. And much like when I like streamed me kind of talking about Final Fantasy on patch day, which is just like us covering FanFest or a live letter or the first 5 hours of an Asmongold stream, there's no gameplay. And so they were like, you know, that's bannable on Twitch. It's like, but it can't be though, because like, do you know how much stalling and distraction goes on Twitch? Like it's the whole platform. The gaming sections of Twitch are probably only 10% gameplay.
We filmed a 40-minute video before filming this video on Twitch, so it's like,
I mean, technically, if I minimize this, the game is on behind it. So, like, I don't know, because there's no Ponto anymore, so you can't get kicked out. So I'm just AFKing in, I don't know, Foundation or something. So then they broadcast this, and imagine that the internet's like, hey, that's not a good idea. So then they defended on Twitter. They put out a tweet that's like, hey, I did nothing wrong. But then they do that by like taking down the other tweet, taking like, you know, obviously all the things you would do if you were 100% confident you did nothing wrong. You know, not saying they did, but like, you know, they're thinking, I don't even need to be cautious. And then they did a lot of cautious things. And then somebody took that tweet and photoshopped it onto a billboard. I think the original billboard, and then posted that to Reddit. And so now that's going around, and it looks like the original billboard, but if you zoom in, like it's a quick and dirty Photoshop job. And so that's where we're at. Is I don't know if they were contacted by Square Enix and told knock it off. I don't know if they were like, I mean, obviously I don't think they were planning on having the billboard run past this weekend anyway, so it was probably only like a 1 week purchase. So maybe they were like, let's just let it run its course, and Square Enix can't hit us before the 9th.
Right.
So maybe that was the theory. Like if we shoot fireworks off in the street and then run back into our houses, by the time the fire department gets here to yell at us, we'll all be inside. So like maybe that's their theory. I don't know.
So but, yeah, I've heard you know, there's been some they themselves as a group have been very disappointed and frustrated and saying bad things, and that we're not going to repeat here or highlight, or we're going to go show, because I think if you guys actually want to see, if you haven't seen, I think Quasi highlighted some of that in one of his videos that he was kind of talking about the subject. I have just been tickled by this entire thing. Like it's like you said, like there's this train wreck rolling on, and it's an interesting contradiction. It's an interesting, or not, maybe not contradiction is the wrong word. Like we're connecting 2 points of time, and there was something over on Reddit. It was actually a misinformation. It was taken down, but over on Reddit, somebody was like, here's somebody in one of the Viera that was pictured, and they're crying because they got a ban, and they're now deliberating a permanent ban. But that actually was tying back 2 years ago when we had the advertisements that were being used, the party finder for people's Twitter, and then eventually, like in a lot of cases, it ended up going down a rabbit hole into maybe some of their more, I guess, adult style content, right? And so that was kind of put the kibosh on it. And that was in-game advertising within the game, advertising things outside the game. This is outside the game, advertising things that are going on within the game itself. And Yoshi P's ERP policy is just like, listen, don't talk, you know, it's the add-on thing, like, again, but it's like, just don't talk about it, don't be like advertising it, we're not supporting it. And then they go and do this labeling with the official Square Enix stuff, like, so that, like, if I was not actively focusing in on the Final Fantasy XIV community. If I was not a part of this community in any stretch or form, but I was a casual fan, I was somebody who would occasionally play an expansion, and I'm out, going taking the kids to school, and I'm like, oh, there's a 14 event going on. Interesting. I'm gonna look into that. And all of a sudden you're like, what did I step into? What has happened to 14? Like, it is not a good look for the game. Now, I'm personally hoping that we see Hogue Law or legally. Like, I'd love to see somebody kind of talk about the intricate details.
I believe Mr. Happy reached out to a few.
Yeah, he did. I saw that he tweeted out a couple. So I'm hoping that they get to do their legal YouTube stuff, because I think generally speaking it would be fascinating. I don't know if Square Enix has to bring in the hammer hard. I think you can kind of just ban it. The signs, like, they're not going to keep paying for these signs.
I legally looked at this, but like, it was like, I legally looked at this, not like I had somebody legal look at this. Like, it was like written for like a non-lawyer that knew for a fact they weren't a lawyer. Yeah. Like, I would like to say, as a non-lawyer, this is my statement on this. Like, why'd you put that little phrase in there?
Interesting. So it'll be interesting to see, like, if there's any, just education wise, because I think general logic understands that, like, if all of a sudden somebody starts posting up advertisements using Gaming Kind of branded logo or Work to Game branded logo or Ginger Prime, like, that it's like, wait, that's you're advertising something that especially I don't agree with or support or want to be associated with. And so then now you're using this with the mega, like, I don't know if like Square Enix is going to recoup much, but we also just recently saw, and we were just talking about Destiny kind of in a little pre-video that probably roll out here in a day or two. We just saw, like, Bungie finding the YouTuber who was impersonating them, striking down channels and suing him for $7.6 million.
Who did it as like a vigilante justice.
Yeah.
He was negatively impacted by something, then decided on the back end he would create like a fake way of doing it himself to show how broken the system was. Then it turned into a whole thing, and I assume he was starting to collect real money on it from how bad they're going after him. And then he was stuck in a spot where he had to continue his crusade against them on his channel and say, like, I'm still being affected by this. But then he was the villain he was complaining about.
Yeah.
And then it seems like Bungie's coming in and
he damaged Bungie's brand. Like, when you start to think about
they got asked, like, oh my God, like, it got brought up in some high level boardrooms saying, why are we doing this? We have got to shut this down. And so they decided, you know what, you're right. Let's put some serious resources into tracking down. And then they went to track it down and they're like, actually, it's not us. And they said, okay, well, let's take all those resources, and without disbanding those resources, let's shift them into finding out who it is. Oh my gosh, somebody's out to hurt us. And then it ended up back at the very person that started the whole thing.
The good side of that is that, like, there is a problem within the YouTube space, especially as that exists in a highlight. But there's also real damage, because when you start to think about, like, layers of an onion about how people are connected, again, that casual person all of a sudden might only hear Bungie striking down content creators and then it's like content creators are like, what? Like, what's going on? And so then all of a sudden, like, they have this fear, especially those who've made their entire career off of talking about the games specifically. And so there's massive, like, because it's like, you're not, like, you have to go get headlines. There's so much work you have to do for my mom to be like, what's going on with Bungie and Destiny? Like, when all of a sudden it hits the sphere of non-gamers, that's essentially like, you've just had a big advertising thing.
And out there, that's it. There's still people that believe Animal Crossing is being added to Final Fantasy XIV.
Right.
Like, once the headline's out there, that's it. That's it. It lives forever. And so, like, did these guys do something wrong? I don't know. But I will say that when we wonder why terms of service go back and get cleaned up, and why the enforcement feels like so inconsistent and all that, it's because they're like, hey, the line is over there. If you touch the line, it's going to light you on fire. And people are like, I guess I should go over there and see how this line looks like. Why don't we just keep some freaking space from the line? Like, what made them think, like, how close can I get? I bet you won't lick the line. Like, I bet you won't.
Well, that's and then, like, bringing this back to, like, Final Fantasy is that Final Fantasy's had all these terms. Like, the terms have been there. And Yoshi P's like, guys, just stop doing some of this stuff, like just stop advertising it, stop talking about it, and we're gonna be cool. And then like people couldn't. And what ended up happening is, like, when you start to actually look at a lot of it, is that people came in from other games where it was supported, and then they just saw people doing it, and essentially the word was, if they heard it at all, was like, yeah, just don't talk about it in game. Like, that was essentially the policy that was the public policy, but not the terms of service. And then all of a sudden, like any kind of government institution that finally gets funding ends up actually executing laws that are on the books that you're like, wait, that's a law in the books? Like, what? What happened here? But this is a situation that just seems so logical. It just seems so like, did anybody stop to go and ask themselves, hey, should we not? Now, I don't think this would be on the Billboard company. They just probably just got like, here's the asset, put it up, charge the fee.
You put this picture on it this week.
All right, there you go. So it's like they're not going to
sign our form that says that you own all these rights.
All right.
Yep.
Yeah. Sounds good.
We're good.
No, all right. Cool. Have a good one. But essentially though, it's like, that's why it's usually good to just have somebody, like some other voice in the room, going like, I don't know if this is a good idea, guys. Like, what if we just like advertise the Discord, but not advertise the Final Fantasy?
As a result of this, Final Fantasy has to go type in FFXIV into Etsy, into any of these other sites that have been allowed to operate with free reign. And when Yoshi P was asked about it, what do you think about people making job stones and selling them? Isn't that so cool? And Yoshi P's response has been like, I didn't hear that question. Can you say the next one, please?
Mm-hmm.
Like, stop. Like, I would like us to have nice things. Maybe if we could treat them respectfully, we can. Like our TOS outlines for use on Twitch and on YouTube, because there's an official kind of definition of what those look like. Everywhere else, I would prefer it if you guys would just knock it off.
Yeah. Now I want to bring up this, because this is a perfect time where we know that the people who like don't like us regardless have already bounced out of the video, and if they're still here, like, welcome back. Distinct says, greatest community, by the way. I don't think members of the 14 community can just not mind their own business and go on witch hunts. And I would say, like, to that aspect, welcome to the mid-patch drought. Like, whenever there is, like, I think essentially what would sum this up best is that, man, 14 players really need 6.2. Like, because we're just like, well, what do we do? I'm not justifying witch hunting, by the way. Like, I know that happens within the community. I've seen it happen firsthand. And it's not great. It's not a great, response.
It's not my favorite thing we do.
Not my favorite thing that the 14 community does. But it's something that I always kind of feel like you will see that happen more when there's less content. Like, where does the drama end up bubbling up within the 14 community? It's not at a point X patch or an expansion. Like, not like everybody's just having fun, great times, all being had fun. It's usually in these content droughts where all of a sudden it's like, well, I was gonna raid today, but I've already done all that. Let's see what's going on Reddit.
Which, just to be clear, from a half patch to a full patch, having gone back through this, we normally only have to go like 30 to 90 days, which means if it takes you 14 days to get excited about the next thing and 14 days to clear the previous thing, you are talking about people that have decided witch hunting is their sport of choice because they can't go like 5 weeks without something like these and I built this spreadsheet. We did it the other night, and for any of you that were here for spreadsheet stream, and I go compare this to World of Warcraft, and I was like, over the years I've always thought like this is how I felt at the time in World of Warcraft. This is what I remember, and my memory is flawed, and so I don't really know why I felt that way. And then I went back and I put in the amount of gaps that they have had, and they get bigger. I think their patches individually are bigger than like our individual patches, especially if you're comparing like a patch to a single patch or a patch to a single half patch. They're very large, but the times between them can be like 300 days. And I don't just mean like one time. People are like, oh yeah, that was that one time because of no. There's a bunch of these where it's 300 days or it's 360 days. There's a bunch of them as I went back through. And I'm not talking recent history. Oh, well, that's just, no, I'm talking Mist of Pandaria. I'm talking expansions that there are people who still defend them. There are these huge gaps. And so when I see 14 that's like, Well, one time I had to go 16 days without content. I had to hunt somebody down. We gotta chill out, guys. Like, we really, it's fine. It's fine. Yoshi, we told you to take a break, and honestly, you barely had to.
Yeah. You weren't even at risk at losing your house. Oh man, it's just fun. Like, and so like I stand by what it says. Like, I was just kind of tickled by all of this. I was just kind of watching it unfold, and I was like, huh, like, all right, like, yeah, that's something that happened, I guess, you know. And it's gonna be interesting to see if there's any like more fallout. But I think overall, like, that's maybe maybe like there's a lesson if you were planning on using officially branded, you know, logos and stuff for an upcoming Billboard campaign that you're organizing. You know, maybe think twice, maybe consult, you know, an attorney to see if, that you're not going to end up spending a couple $100.
Photoshop yourself into an image of the next Stranger Things and want to put it on a billboard. Don't like maybe don't borrow a multi-billion-dollar company's assets and broadcast it. Maybe don't.
Yeah. And I also like, I see chat saying like, hey, this has been going on for years. Yeah. Like, it's just like, people will be like, no, this is something recent. Like, no. Like, it's some of it's evolved. Like, I would say like within the game itself, like that's where it all spills out onto Reddit and Twitter and the internet in that regards. But like, no. Like, before they started enforcing it in game, like, yeah, there was a handful of people, and it stung too. You can go back and find posts of people like capturing screenshots of just some of the like horrible things in game that doesn't happen as much or at all anymore, but it just is, you know, spilled out. But it's that whoa, what happened? Like, I was just having a good time, and somebody decided that they wanted to tank the wall for some random reason and then get mad about it. It's
the literal billboard, right? It's not that like we're gonna get a little too drunk inside my house party,
right?
It's not the, you know, you and your spouse are making consensual decisions that you want to do inside of your own bedroom or home. It's the, I would like to do this publicly on my lawn and put up a literal sign that I'm doing it. Like, you're asking for, well, would somebody at the party report us? I don't know, probably not, because you know everybody there.
Yeah.
Like, it's not, oh, somebody on Twitch is doing something with their community. It's not somebody inside Discord is doing something with their community. You're literally asking, is anybody driving down the highway going to report me? Is anybody on Twitter as a whole going to report me? Like you are just actively setting matches next to the gasoline. And now you're like, yeah, but what if some of the matches were even lit? Like, stop. Like, it was so easy to avoid.
It's so funny. Anyway, guys, those are our thoughts about the entire Billboard situation as that kind of unfolded. In my way, it was a good way to distract myself a little bit part of the yesterday. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this discussion. Chris, why don't you take us out?
All right, guys. Yesterday I ugly cried about binding coils. My first time to go through that story. And so I'm going to be doing some 2.5 over on Twitch. And so if any of you guys want to come take part in that, maybe Brian and I will get a chance to talk soon about kind of my journey through story as a longtime story skipper. I started in Shadowbringers. So I have Shadowbringers and Endwalker stuff. So I really thought, like, I already know what happens in coils. I've watched DSU prog. I'm not going to be surprised. And then I'm like sobbing. And so if you guys want to come take joy in that or look forward to when Brian and I discuss it in an upcoming post, be sure to hit subscribe here. I will say on every channel that I have access to. So Brian and I shared channels, all of my personal channels, all of them, about half of you have never hit subscribe. So if you've made it to this point in the video, maybe consider it. And other than that, we'll see you next time.
Take care.